Going live now.
Good morning. All right, recognizing the quorum of commissioners, I call the June 6, 2024 meeting of the Cannabis Control Commission to order. This meeting is being held hybrid pursuant to Chapter 22 of the Act of 2022. This meeting is being held today with Commissioners Camargo, Stebbins, Boyd, and myself participating. All votes being taken today will be done by roll call. I will generally summarize the agenda for today's commission meeting. We will start with opening comments from commissioners before proceeding to the public listening session regarding island transportation. I'll ask that commissioners wishing to comment or ask questions during any part of the meeting, please raise their hand to be recognized. And with those initial comments, I will turn things over to the commissioners for any comments and or updates. And we'll go in alphabetical order, beginning with Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, I just want to make sure we're able to all hear you as well. So,
Can you hear me?
Hi, Commissioner Camargo.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. We're the mics. So
Can you hear me? Okay.
Okay, try now, Commissioner.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
One more time.
Testing. Good morning. Good morning.
talking about the scene.
I'll try one more. Wait.
I can type my comments and someone can read them.
Paul, you can look back.
Yeah.
Commissioner,
Can you hear me now?
can you all hear? Yes.
All
Good
right.
to go,
Sounds
please.
good. I'll be quick. First of all, good morning to everyone who's there, everyone who is in our Worcester office, and those who are watching hybrid. Commissioners, it's great to see you. I'm excited that we're having this listening session today, and I'm really just looking forward to hearing from folks in pertaining to this issue right here. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Allowing us to have today's hearing. I also want to thank our Director of Government Affairs and Policy, Matt Giancola, and all of the Commission staff who assisted in logistics to make today possible. I look forward to hearing testimony today so we can have a full understanding from a local perspective. As I said in last month's public meeting, we take the supply chain issue the island is currently facing very seriously. Acknowledging there are challenges presented due to federal prohibition in the current regulatory scheme. We are also mindful of the over 200 medical patients on the island who would be without access to medical cannabis. As I also previously stated, there are concerning public health and public safety consequences to that. I look forward to today's constructive dialogue. Thank you so much for my time.
Thank you, Commissioner Roy. Commissioner Stebbins.
Everybody hear me okay? Okay. Good morning. I just add my thanks both to the Oak Bluffs Library and the team here, as well as our CCC team for pulling this all together, and to thank all of you for showing up and being willing to offer your thoughts, comments, advice to us as to how we can solve, as Commissioner Roy stated, this issue of supply chain and allowing access to legal product here on both Dukes County and Nantucket. Also just pausing to reflect on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. But with that, I'll turn it back over.
Thank you, Commissioner Stebbins. First, good morning. It's really good whenever we can be in person and see everyone who's involved in this really important issue. I think I can speak for the entire commission and staff. We're really looking forward to getting and gaining as much perspective today as possible. So I wanted to begin just talking about some of the points that have been overlooked recently that are really worthy of focus. We're coming up on 6 months since the staff here at the CCC and the commissioners worked really successfully to file the Chapter 180 regulations, and I wanted to take a moment to recognize that. We plan to celebrate that milestone of the staff's great work in the implementation. And as a state, we have been a leader, first on the market on the East Coast, first to have equity be a requirement at the state level, and our $6 billion industry now brings in more tax revenue than the alcohol industry. It is the biggest cash crop for Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So it's important that we have these conversations, that we have dialogue, and that we're communicating back and forth because there's a lot to talk about. We got those regulations promulgated under an extremely tight deadline, one that many thought we could not make, but we did it with all hands on deck and despite a lot of distraction. We have important work to get done. So I want us to focus and keep our focus on doing this historic work to ensure that it's a more equitable industry. And we know that there are tens and thousands of people, including many people in this room, who depend on us getting the job right. But we have to continue to do that work to get this job right as well. Today, we are talking about island transportation. This is an issue that we talked about at length last month during our public conversation. But what we're here to do is really gain an understanding of the people who are most directly impacted and understanding what we need to keep in mind and perspective. We know that there is a delicate balance between state law, federal law, but we want to figure out how to really go about this in a way that's really thoughtful and meaningful. So I just want to, again, thank you all in advance for your comments and participating today. With those comments, I will ask for those wishing to testify, please add your name. We'll have a running sign-up sheet in the back, and we'll take testimony in the order of the sign-in. If there are elected officials who wish to testify, they may go first. In order to allow as many people as possible to testify, we will be limited testimony to 3 minutes. So each person gets 3 minutes to come up to the mic, testify, and then any commissioners that have any questions can ask those questions as well. For those who cannot attend this public meeting in person, we are accepting written comments. So written comments can be submitted to the Cannabis Control Commission at commission@cccmass.com. Again, the email to submit written testimony is commission@cccmass.com. And with those words, we will go right into the sign-up sheet. The first person we have listed is Jeff Ross from Patient Centric. Good morning, sir. I said Rose and I called you Ross. Rose or Ross?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can everybody? Can everybody? Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. What is the correct way to pronounce it?
Jeff Rose, like
Jeff
writing flower.
I said good morning, Jeff Ross before, so I apologize. Jeff Rose. Very nice to meet you in person.
Well, welcome to Martha's Vineyard. Rick, we had a sunny day for you, but thank you for being here. I appreciate your efforts to hold the outreach meeting on the island and to hear our concerns about the future of cannabis for our patients, our consumers, and our community. I stand here before you today to strongly urge you to immediately take action to accept transportation of cannabis products between the mainland and the islands of Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. Commonwealth voters passed the 2016 ballot question, which supported the legalization of adult use cannabis, to direct the CCC to provide all citizens with access to cannabis products. Those voters never intended the CCC to take or threaten enforcement action against licensees for transporting products between the mainland and the islands. They intended the CCC to ensure that all Commonwealth citizens, including residents and visitors to the islands, have access to the same fully tested and regulated products. As you're well aware, Massachusetts has done a relatively good job establishing the adult use legalized cannabis market since 2017. However, now we're at a crossroads. and we need your immediate attention. Without the ability to transport products to the mainland, the island's only licensed businesses, including mine, will close for good, and island residents and visitors will soon be entirely cut off from access to legal cannabis products, both medical and adult use. You can prevent this. You have the authority to create policy and promulgate regulations that govern the transport of products to and from the islands. You can guarantee that island patients and consumers have access to safe, tested product, and the island's operators, such as me, have the opportunity to thrive in the communities where the Commonwealth's cannabis industry as our community's source of safe, regulated cannabis products. The financial and regulatory requirements to operate a cannabis establishment in the islands are far more extensive and difficult than they are on the mainland. In recent years, the cost of doing business has increased exponentially, and in many cases, it's cost prohibitive to vertically integrate. Cannabis business should not be forced to seek additional cultivation, manufacturing, and retail licenses to stay in business just because we're located on the islands. Other states in this country have addressed this very issue in a variety of ways, and I see no reason why the CCC cannot follow suit. We're not asking the Commission to endorse shipment to and from the islands, only to allow licensees to take the same risks of federal enforcement we take every day as participants in this industry without fear of enforcement action. The political landscape, in 2024 is very different than it was in 2017, when legalization came to Massachusetts. Consumers are buying cannabis legally from licensed facilities across the state, creating strong tax revenues for the Commonwealth and pushing an illicit market into retreat. I've worked hard to be part of the cannabis industry in Massachusetts, and I'm now turning away patients and consumers, my friends and neighbors, because I'm no longer able to source product. If nothing's done, Martha's Vineyard medical and adult use cannabis market will completely disappear by the end of the summer, leaving island residents and legions of summer visitors without access to safe, legal cannabis. The Commission has worked hard to bring the Commonwealth's cannabis industry into existence, and it's high time that island's overburdened licensees have access to the rest of the industry. Thank you for listening to my testimony, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Commissioner Stebbins?
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Appreciate your testimony. Couple of quick questions. You referred to exponential increases in costs. Is that because of vertically integrated system you need out here, or other regulatory costs? Could you define that or break that down a little bit more?
Well, exponential certainly in terms of the cost of producing the product, the cost of operating here on the island are probably the two biggest factors.
Okay. My second question is, because I know you've been at this a while, help me understand the marketplace in Martha's Vineyard. It's obviously as a population that ebbs and flows depending on the season. How do you view the marketplace on? You can just talk about Dukes County at the moment.
Well, I can speak for I'll call it the June, July, and August population and the amount of revenue that's generated in just those 3 months is well over 40% of the year-round total revenue. You know, that's significant. That's why I'm here asking for immediate relief. My doors are closed.
Thank you, Mr. Rose, for your testimony today. I just want to unpack it a little bit, make sure I have full understanding of what you're advocating for. You're advocating for full panel testing. I know there's limited testing on the island of products, so you're advocating that the products that from the mainland to the islands undergo the full panel, like the products that are on the mainland.
I do not test product. The product that I've received from Fine Family, who's been my supplier. It's my understanding that testing from the mainland is far more robust and therefore does limit the breadth of product that can be available.
We can't hear Commissioner Roy online. We
It
can't.
does. I mean, the year-round population of the vineyard is 20,000. I would say the conventional wisdom about summer population is that it exceeds over 100,000 weekly in July and August. So the number of medical patients that are currently on island in Dukes County are 234. Statistically, that number can likely triple during the summer season. That answers your question.
Mr. Rose, you say you're currently closed. Yeah.
Yes, I closed as of May 14th.
Any additional questions?
Sure. Thank you. Mr. Rose, in your testimony, you said just allow us to assume the risk. Allow us to do it and we assume the risk. Is that what you're basically saying?
We assume the risk every day because the product is federally illegal. Just want to be able to transport product and assume that risk. Yes.
Your testimony, were you asking for from the mainland to the island to the mainland, or both, or one way?
My approach has been from the mainland to the vineyard or to the islands.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Dan Berger, Grass Venture LLC. Dan.
Good morning, everybody. I'm back there too. First off, I just wanted to apologize because I got an hour of sleep in my car last night and then caught a 7:30 boat over here and then walked an hour over here. So I'm trying to be as coherent and concise as possible. With all that being said.
We admire your dedication.
That's one word. So first and foremost, I am here as the owner and equity partner of Grass Ventures LLC. We are a licensed delivery operator up in Salem, Massachusetts. This week, actually, we are, fingers crossed, knocking on wood, getting that commence operations. No better time to be here. I also actively hold a host community agreement with the city of Salem for a courier license as well as a third-party transporter. And the islands are very much a part of my plans when it comes to that. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I've got 5 points here that I have shared with some folks at the commission. But essentially 5 things that I think could help. And I'll also point to my work I've been doing as a member of the public, but also as someone who's been trying to get an establishment on the island of Nantucket open. I've been working with them. All of their videos are on YouTube since June last year, so June 2023. And with all that work and all that being said, these are my 5 points that I think could help shore up the supply chains on the islands. 1, issue guidance on zoning for municipalities. And I can't speak to the vineyard 100%, but I can speak to Nantucket. And I know that is one of the biggest obstacles, really in any municipality, I'd like to think, to opening your doors. Number 2, make sure the municipal equity changes take effect on the islands. So we are just 6 months past the regulations getting promulgated. We are just starting to see the model bylaw, et cetera, all these things take effect. So I think finally letting municipalities to wrap their heads around that first and foremost might be good stuff. Number 3, and I think many of us agree on this, remove barriers for island transportation on the state level. And I'll say, having read the regulations, doesn't look like we have any obstacles really in 935 CMR 500 or 501, which is the medical side. Yeah, so, and I think it might be the steamship or the, transporting authorities that might be the biggest obstacle. Number 4, this was also brought up, remove the vertical integration requirement for medical licenses. And then number 5, work with the Wampanoag people to see what it may take to get that involved as well. And that's where, if we look at the motion language, part of the motion was a change of ownership is priority review as well. I am just spitballing and I don't want to speak for anyone else, but it might be nice to see if we can work with that. That's hopefully the short version.
Okay, thank you, Dan. I turn this off and you all hear me? Yes, perfect. I have follow-up questions to your second point. To make sure municipal equity regulations follow on the islands, is there specific provision within our regulations? Can you just expand on what you mean by that, and if there's anything that you're seeing in what's happening as a licensee?
So I'll just say it's pretty much a blanket statement across the board. Municipalities have been waiting for guidance from the commission, all of the, the model bylaw, various guidance documents before they, pull the trigger on implementing any changes. So with that being said, it's sort of been a long journey in that sense, trying to get the message across as to what the expectations are for these municipalities, and then really, stressing the timeline for implementation on that. So I know we have May 5th next year is when fines might start getting doled out to communities that are out of compliance, but I know it's just been a hard sell.
Thank you. Any additional questions?
Thank you all as always.
I think, hold on one second, Dan. I think I see Commissioner Camargo's hand up and unmute
Hey.
my.
Thank you. Hey, Dan. Good to, thank you. Good to see you. Thank you for sleeping in your car for an hour, getting there early.
In real life. Okay, hi, Commissioner Camargo.
Good morning. Quick question. I just said, Dan, I just said, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, there's an echo. It's okay. Next time, I think I'll just type my questions, and acting chair, you could probably just read the question, but I'll be really quick. Dan, good to see you. Thank you for traveling all the way down there for your testimony. I don't want to assume, but are you going to turn in your comments to our team? Are you going to submit them? Oh, I can't hear him. He said yes.
Muted. He is sending them in. Yes.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, so that brings us to the next person on our list. We have John Hardens from Fine Fettle. Morning, John.
Good morning.
Did I pronounce your last name correct? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for giving us this opportunity to kind of speak with this group. I am a licensed bud tender at Fine Fettle. I joined the company in 2001 and was, I think, the 3rd or 4th person on this island hired. Began work before we actually even opened the dispensary. Worked to assemble furniture and hang pictures on the wall and get the dispensary ready to service of this community. I've got about 5 things I'd like to, from my perspective, for this group to know. The first and most important thing, I think, is the diversity of our customer base on this island. It looks like the diversity of this island, and by that I mean everybody comes in. Our customers may be predominantly older, every race, gender. We celebrate the diversity of our customer base, just as we celebrate the diversity of residents and visitors to this island. And we love providing access to clean, safe cannabis for everybody. When we opened in 2021, I wish you could have seen, I want to try to convey to you the excitement and emotional response we got from people who have grown up on this island. for the first time in their lives, having access to clean, safe cannabis, not having to be forced to buy it on the black market, knowing they're getting tested safe product. They can finally get medicine for any number of ailments. And again, I go back to the diversity. I'm talking about old people with arthritic pains that, and anxiety issues, or sleep issues, Lyme disease issues. It goes on and on. Eating disorder issues. Every single day, we got people coming in and just telling us about how happy they were that we finally opened it, and that Jeff and Brian Fettel finally were able to open this dispensary, provide them the access. The third thing I want everybody to know is that we continue every single day to service honest to God medical needs of this community. Every single day somebody comes in and says, hey, you have that tincture I've been relying on, it helps me get to sleep every night. That's every single day. The other thing I want people to know is that there's a number of, yes, we have a lot of medical patients, but we also have a number of patients who, for one reason or another, are precluded from getting medical cards. And that may be because of a job situation. It may be because they're hunters and they fear, there's some issues with having a gun and having a medical card. So really the population that relies on cannabis on this island is far greater than the number of people who have medical cards, far greater. And that's just from my working as a licensed bartender. And the other thing that I think you should all be aware of is that we welcome hundreds of thousands of visitors to this island every day in this season, and that's already started. A lot of these people also have medical cards and rely on this medicine, and they know they're not supposed to bring it on the island, on a plane or on a boat, and they come without it. Much to their surprise, lots of times they realize that Massachusetts does not offer reciprocity for other states with medical cards, and they're disappointed in that. However, they have the recourse of being able to still have access to the cannabis on the adult use side. So I think that's a very important point. Yeah, so just in summation, I just want everybody to know how much this island has come to appreciate and rely on us being open and serving this community every single day to provide them access.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Mark, for your testimony. I appreciate it. You're with Brian Fettel,
Yes,
and could you describe where your inventory is at right now?
we are kind of in a scary position. We're seeing our inventory levels drop every day. We have a very inconsistent supply. I think the first thing we're going to run out of is flour. We're seeing our inventories and drop every single day, and there's times when, and it's really kind of heartbreaking. We love being able to have a patient come in and have the product for them that they've been depending upon. When they come in and we no longer have it on the shelf, it really hurts, and it hurts daily. It takes an emotional toll, and that's where we're at right now. Things like a nice balm to relieve, a topical balm to relieve arthritic pain or other pains, so people can stay off of more pharmaceutical drug. All those kind of things we no longer have consistent access to, and we're seeing a rapidly declining supply. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? John, I have a question, right? I probably already knew the answer. There was a question earlier about, when we have the most demand, and I'm assuming it's also during the summer months.
Well, I am a seasonal employee. We have a home on the island, and we arrive in mid-May, and that's typically when I start work. So I'm here really, and watching the ramp up to Memorial Day as more and more visitors come. We go from pretty much all just strictly island residents to more and more visitors. And then that'll wane after Labor Day as the, I generally continue to work through October 15th. We'll continue to get visitors year round. But definitely the height of the season and my employment is to be there to support the heavy demand in the, from Memorial Day to Labor Day period. Okay, thank you.
Oh, your question, sorry.
Yeah, John, sorry.
Sorry, John. Evans.
Happy to answer your question. Yes.
Obviously, when you're talking about supply chain issues, to make sure patients and visitors have access to product when they're here. If we can solve this supply chain issues, what do you think that would do to potential for other licensees to open on the island and kind of grow the industry out here on Martha's Vineyard?
So you're speaking about possibly additional licenses, for instance,
Yeah.
and additional dispensary location.
Yeah.
I think it would only increase access. I mean, right now, it could be a bit of a hardship depending upon where certain residents live on the island to get to one of the two open dispensaries. So yeah, additional licenses could improve access for more people. And also we do have visitors that arrive, let's say, in Oak Bluffs, and don't rent cars, don't rent vehicles. And it's a bit of a hardship to get to certainly West Tisbury where our location is, but also to Vineyard Haven, depending upon, where people are situated on the island, when they're here. And then certainly we have folks that are old and quit driving. So there is that access problem as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Howard Harrison. Oh, no, okay, all right. Thank you, Howard. Okay, next we have Gabrielle Bison. Bison.
No worries.
From Five Petals.
So I'm here to speak from a few different perspectives, both as the inventory manager of Fine Fettle, a current medical patient on the island, and someone who's been here since before we had this access and after. John is right to say that the inventory is dwindling, and part of that is because how cost prohibitive it is to run a microcosm on this island. You can't send anything out to get tested at a facility that tests lots of different things at a cheaper rate. You have to buy the equipment and build it all in-house. And on top of that, you end up paying island rent, which I'm sure we all know what that's like. It makes it hard, especially in an industry where you can't get a federal loan because of the fact that it's not federally legal. I personally have had struggles with pain relief due to a back issue that I have. And at one point in my life, I was taking so much ibuprofen, my hair was falling out. I found relief through cannabis products in a way that did less harm to my body. And I am a current medical patient on this island. And the idea that I would have to commit a crime to bring my medicine home is baffling to me. I have so many customers who get relief. We have a large number of people who suffer from Lyme disease on this island, both medical patients and non, who find relief from our products. I have customers who come in and tell me, that strain you recommended got my cancer patient mom to eat dinner, and I'm so happy. And these moments where we get to help these people, I really don't want to see the island lose that opportunity. I don't want to see any of the people here to lose that access. And selfishly, I don't want to lose my job. I love the help that we get to bring to people, the relief that we get to provide. And especially on this island where it is such a small space, during the slower months, you get more one-on-one time with your customers. You get to say, hey, what's the issue you're seeking relief from? I know my coworker uses this for her arthritis. I use this for my nerve pain. Let's help you find what works for you. And at an off-island bigger dispensary, you're lucky if someone's tried half of what's there. So we get that one-on-one time, and we've created such a great community where we know the people we're helping, and we don't want to have to stop helping them.
Gabrielle? I don't see any questions, but I will ask, and this is a request from Commissioner Camargo, is if you can submit your comments in writing, it would be helpful. I'm jotting my own notes, I'm sure we're all doing that, but it's also helpful just to have our own, submit that too. I don't have any follow-up questions, but I just thank you, but I want to thank you for coming up and giving your story. I think that you have provided some insights on what it means to be directly impacted. And I just want to say thank you. Commissioner Lord,
Thank you, and Gabrielle, thank you as well, for sharing, personal information with us, and, how it's helped you, with applications for you when you're pain management and what other patients have gone through. And I appreciate you sharing, your personal story with us. And this is why we're here. We're here to learn the direct impacts that it will have. If patients are forced to get in this the illicit market, what the impacts are. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Frank Shaw.
Morning. Is it working?
It is on, it's working.
All right, my name is Frank Shaw. I'm a 71-year-old medical marijuana patient living in Ipswich, Massachusetts. Since March of 2021, I have served as a registered qualified patient advisor on the Massachusetts Cannabis Advisory. Today, I had to leave my medical marijuana on the mainland because the ferry has policies against bringing cannabis to this beautiful island. I was diagnosed with HIV/AIDS in 1998, and for people like me, medical marijuana is a lifeline. We find ourselves in a situation where access to medical cannabis on Martha's Vineyard is at risk of a total wipeout. This risk comes doing over a decade of progress to assure that the patients across the Commonwealth have access to this medicine. While current regulations allow for product testing exceptions for island operators, there is no process in place for the transportation of cannabis across waters due to federal enforcement concerns. However, routes do exist that can avoid federal waters. The situation at hand requires the Commission to consider regulations that address water transportation in order to avoid a disaster for patients. This is because access to the medical cannabis on Martha's Vineyard would soon disappear even if a transportation solution is put in place. The requirement for medical marijuana operators to be vertically integrated would remain in effect unless action is taken. Transportation of products from the mainland is necessary because there may not be another cultivation facility on the island. Solving the transportation issue does not solve the vertical integration issue. Both need to be fixed. Allowing for transportation of cannabis products and allows for an existing MTC operator to open a medical retail on Martha's Vineyard and transport their products to the facility. But the foundation barriers that remain in place, such as a $50,000 annual licensing fee, will dramatically affect the likelihood of the new operator undergoing this endeavor. It is unnecessary for each MTC license to cost $50,000 if only a new component of the second and third license is the new retail location. Existing MTCs that already have an established cultivation manufacturing center should not have to pay $50,000 for additional retail location, reducing the licensing fee for these additional retail locations would make it more feasible for operators to expand their service to the island and ensure patients have access to medical cannabis. This Martha's Vineyard debacle shows how the vertical integration required impacts the medical cannabis industry. I urge the commission to prioritize medical cannabis during this situation. Patients come first. Allow transportation of products from both the mainland to both medical and adult use operators, considering the elimination or modification of the vertical integration requirement for island operators, as well as reducing the $50,000 annual fee required to operate medical cannabis license. Let's make sure we don't lose access to essential medical cannabis on Martha's Vineyard. Thank you for your time and indulgence.
Thank you. I have more comments on that question. Thank you for your testimony. First, I know you'll probably submit this as well, so I just encourage you to submit your written testimony. You may not be aware, but I've currently had a number of different conversations around birth control. I know Jeremiah is here, Vivian is here also. I'm opening time to have this conversation because of how important that conversation is. I mean, recognizing that this was something that was talked about by the prior iteration of the commission that needs to come to the forefront there. So I appreciate your comments and understand. So it dovetails directly to the issue at hand today. Yes, it is an ongoing whole conversation and some internal work. But I welcome, want to sit down and we can have a conversation as well. I really welcome that. Thank you, Frank. Are there any additional questions or comments from the commissioners?
Thank you, Frank. Personal story.
Commissioner Stebbins.
Thank you, Chair. Frank, thank you, as always, offering testimony. Question for you, and if you need some time to think about it, greatly appreciate it. When you want to have an opportunity to circle back, you talked about opening up supply chain opportunities to the island for existing NTCs. Have you anecdotally or had any conversations with our existing licensed NTCs to see what their interests might be in terms of operating on the island under any circumstance or under any potential changes?
I will follow up.
Okay. All right.
On that.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you. Okay, so the next person we have is Jeremiah McKinnon.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for giving me the time and opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Jeremiah McKinnon, and I'm the president of the Massachusetts Patient Advocacy Alliance, representing the coalition of patients, caregivers, and providers who helped pass the ballot question in 2012 that legalized medical marijuana in Massachusetts. I'm so glad that we're here today hearing from patients who live in an area that's underserved by the current system. Whether or not medical cannabis patients will suffer and lose access to this medicine on the island and the rest of the Commonwealth is now in your hands, commissioners. DPH and your predecessors pushed off these issues before you for years, leaving patients with a flawed system and leaving you now to pick up these pieces. Patients on the island could soon lose access because of this flawed system unless you act immediately. Today, we're asking you to not forget these 234 patients on Martha's Vineyard whose future is now in jeopardy. MPA implores the Commission to engage your powers to expand your special regulations on the islands, to eliminate the vertical integration requirement for island operators, reduce the exorbitant licensing fees, and allow for lab-tested cannabis to be transported from the mainland to reach patients on the islands. Without these changes, we're setting up patients to experience unnecessary anguish, worsening of their health conditions, and a negative impact on their quality of life. Transporting medical cannabis from the mainland to Martha's Vineyard may be a viable solution despite federal law. This is because Congress has renewed a budget rider over the past 10 years that courts have interpreted as prohibiting federal prosecution of state legal medical marijuana activities. While this will not eliminate the risk of prosecution regarding recreational marijuana, it is possible that transportation of medical marijuana from the mainland of Martha's Vineyard would be covered under this congressional protection. However, if there is no medical dispensary or co-located establishment on the island to receive these medical marijuana products, transportation alone won't be enough. A transportation solution would make the need for a medical operator to grow on the island unnecessary, because even if they do grow, the product variety they produce will not be as plentiful or as expansive as the product that can be obtained from the plentiful number of producers on the island. Transportation will increase choices and introduce patients to new formulations, dosages, and strains that may do a better job of treating their condition. That's why it's important the Commission realize that our statute empowers you to create special regulations for the islands. And at this point, it's clear that more must be done to ensure that the island isn't without access. The Commission should immediately move to develop special regulations for the islands that allow adult use operators or entirely new businesses to obtain licensure to provide medical marijuana to patients with a much reduced licensing fee. There is no justification legally for the vertical integration requirement to continue. It is not based on statutory requirement. We saw the Commission's flexibility during the COVID-19 pandemic when adult use producers were granted waivers to supply the medical market. Therefore, vertical integration is not a statutory requirement because the Commission cannot waive statutory provisions. This precedent demonstrates that change is possible and necessary during emergency circumstances. I want to also note that reliance on a single operator can end up disrupting access for an entire community like we're seeing here. Reliance on a single operator can be dangerous also because of the risk of crop failure, which without outside supply is a major setback that could decimate a business. It's unacceptable that patients' health and well-being are being put at risk because of gaps in policy. It's heartbreaking and it's truly scary to hear that flower is the first item that may run out soon. Our advocacy is driven by the stories and struggles of patients who deserve better. It's imperative that patients, including those on the islands, have access to medical cannabis as a matter of public health, equity, and compassion. Please act to develop these special regulations on the island that will allow operators to easily provide access to medical cannabis patients and allow for the transportation of cannabis from the mainland. Patients deserve lab-tested medicine from a wide variety of mainland sources. By taking the right steps now, we can avoid the unnecessary suffering of patients who rely on medical cannabis. This is a preventable tragedy. If cannabis relieves pain and helps to end suffering, we should ensure that our policies do not become the cause of pain and suffering. It is our responsibility to create regulations that support, not hinder, patient access to this essential medicine. And lastly, I'll just say that, I would like if we're creating a solution, if we only have adult use on this island, that adult use facility should be able to easily add medical. It shouldn't be that patients are forced to pay taxes and we somehow are okay with that. So that's why we advocate for what we're advocating for.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
Thank you.
Mentioned a threshold protection. Do you have that citation?
I can follow up with that. It's commonly known as the Rohrabacher-Barr Amendment, but it's kind of changed over time.
Okay, you can send that out.
Sure.
Are there any questions by Commissioner White?
Thank you. Thank you, Jeremiah. And I also want to thank you for your service on CAP. You're chairing one of the committees. I think you put forth some recommendations, though any of those overlap with today's discussion.
That's correct. The Public Health Subcommittee of the Cannabis Advisory Board did meet May 30th, and we did make 3 recommendations, one of which was support for allowing both medical and adult use transfer of products from the mainland to the islands, as well as a separate recommendation that implores the Commission to take further steps to share support for removing vertical integration and expanding access.
Commissioner Simmons.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining us with Frank. Question for you for registered patients who make up your membership from across the Commonwealth. Do you feel the Commonwealth, that this commission does an effective job in terms of helping patients understand what resources they have available to them, maybe resources, right, where, what opportunities they have in terms of being able to possess their own plants, things like that. So, and speaking broadly, generally, obviously, it does link into, supply chain discussion when it comes to the vineyard, but, anecdotally about your membership, what message can we continue to help get out there, or how many patients do you know access those opportunities for authority to
So
perhaps further on?
to understand your question, are you asking me if patients feel like the commission has the resources and essentially that they need to be able to?
The information out there about what's available to patients. I know you've been in this conversation for a number of years around patient access, patient health. Obviously, patients have access and can grow their own plants or do it through a carriers. Is there more that this commission can be doing to promote or public awareness around that opportunity?
I appreciate that clarification. I think there is more the commission can do. I know that there's been public awareness campaigns, and the commission has expanded its website in terms of home cultivation and other avenues. But I have heard for quite some time that from patients that they feel like medical marijuana is an overlooked topic, that the majority share of attention is dedicated to adult use, and that very little of the agendas of the commission or the activities of the commission are truly focused on medical marijuana. So that's where, when I started today, I said, this is fantastic that we're here actually hearing from people in underserved areas, and we're not afraid to kind of confront that maybe things aren't perfect as they are now, but let's work to change them. So I think there could be more the commission could do to kind of demonstrate that, that they're there for patients, and that increasing the number of resources and the clarity that what you guys are offering for patients.
Thank you. And obviously, I think we said at our first public meeting when this came up that it was an important priority to address the needs of the 230 plus registered patients who at least felt he was counting home. Do you have a sense, MPA membership, how many patients actively cultivate their own plant?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. It is a small subset of patients that are growing their own. So it's definitely not very common. Most patients are using dispensary system.
Thank you.
Jeremiah, I don't talk about the vertical integration piece. Can you give us sort of here's the top 5 priorities that the MPA, I don't want to mess up the acronym, the MPA has at the top line? Like, what are the things that you want to make sure the commission is aware of and brings support?
In terms of Martha's Vineyard or vertical or everything in general? Okay, so what we hear from patients is that there are several adult use dispensaries in one town, and none of them are medical. So this is why we really have supported getting rid of vertical integration for so long, because we see that patients are having to travel outside of their town to get access to medical, when these businesses that exist within the town today could have medical if we got rid of the red tape. And when I really think about it, what is stopping some of these dispensaries that exist today, like Island Time perhaps, from being able to be medical? And it's really just connecting to the system. So it's, if we have the will to do this, we can actually expand patient access in areas that are underserved on the mainland, including Provincetown, which patients actually have to drive an hour from Provincetown to the nearest medical dispensary and pass something like 9 recreational dispensaries on the way. So, I am concerned that this issue here happening on Martha's Vineyard could essentially be foreshadowing of what could happen on the mainland, because essentially it's if nothing is done to make it easier to become a medical marijuana operator, then if we lose operators, there's no one to fill their place. And so then the attrition will build up, and essentially there'll be nobody to fill that void because of these insane high barriers of entry. And another huge barrier is the fact that agent registrations are $500 for medical agents, but $125 for adult use. So, you know, the system is almost like designed only for those that have lots of extra cash on hand. Because I know, $500 agent fee is something that's gonna, that's like the cost of 2 or 3 regular agents. So you're gonna be really limited in terms of how many you can put on. And, so that access for patients, in the Berkshires as well, there's only really 3 dispensaries, but plenty of adult use in that area. So that's the main concern that we've heard from patients over time is that, while adult use has been able to flourish, medical has kind of been held back. And there was a priority given for medical operators to become adult use, but no such way for adult use to become medical unless they're vertically integrated. I think one of the other big things that patients have been asking about is the fact that they like multi-year registrations in terms of their card, or if the card with the certification can actually line up these 2 dates. It's something that causes an extreme amount of frustration, and patients don't know essentially how these 2 dates became so far apart or what they mean. So, and I have to, commend the commission for working with us on the patient registration process, which, we have really bucked the trend in terms of other states where the medical program is completely decimated, patients leave and adult use takes over. We've seen a 50% or above increase in patient enrollment since adult use sales started. So I think what we didn't do though is adjust the licensing system to, with that increased patient enrollment, to give them new medical facilities to utilize. So, we'd like to see operators on the island be able to do both. And it's a big thing in terms of social equity, because with Chapter 180 now, the law of the land, I think the future of cannabis is social equity and really diversifying our industry. So at this point in time, there is 0 social equity applicants or economic empowerment businesses that operate medical. And so I think getting rid of vertical integration, it's difficult enough to operate in this industry, operating just one segment of it. But for us to say, now you must do everything, it really does limit people from even thinking about doing it. So I can definitely put together a list of priorities, but I feel like that was a good, introduction to why we're so passionate about this.
Very well. Thank you. Commissioner Roy?
Thank you. And Jeremiah, I know you're well versed in our state policy and your involvement in CAB. And as we testify here today, we talk about the island and the local issues and state issues. We have to be mindful of what's going on in the federal landscape. And I'm just going to share with you something that I recently shared on my social media platforms. Recently, the Department of Justice proposed a historic transfer of marijuana from Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act to Schedule 3 of the CSA, consistent with a review of the Department of Health and Human Services that marijuana has a currently accepted medical use, as well as HHS's views about marijuana's abuse potential and level of physical or psychological dependence. The CSA requires that such actions be made through formal rulemaking on record after opportunity for a hearing. For interested parties, I would try to link the DEA notice of proposed rulemaking on public comment period of 60 days. I would encourage you to also hold time at the federal level in this public comment period, because at some point we're in separate lanes, but at some point those lanes are going to converge. So I just want to remind folks that we're here to testify today about local impacts and state impacts, but this is an opportunity to opine on federal impacts. So I just want to share that and remind folks you have that available to you.
Thank you. This is very important.
Are there any additional questions? Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, next we have Sally Rizzo. Morning, Sally. Good afternoon, Sally.
Hi, thank you for being here and coming on this horrible day and enjoying this beautiful island. My name is Sally Rizzo. I am a medical patient here today to encourage the Cannabis Commission to provide a solution to the problem of lack of access, regulated, tested cannabis for medical and recreational. It took several years after cannabis was legalized for island residents to have access to products due to the requirements that cannabis be grown, tested, and transported, and not transported across the ocean. And then it took years for dispensaries that opened to have a reasonable inventory of products. Now that is all threatened. The benefit of access to legal tested regulated cannabis for consumers seeking the product is essential. And knowing that it is safe, that they know exactly what's in it, that it's been tested, and they understand the specific amount of THC is critical. Without the availability of dispensaries, those in need will seek products from the illicit market. And they would be buying products that are untested and don't know what exactly the potency is. That's a real risk, healthcare risk. Many medical patients cannot travel to other communities like those that live in off-island communities are able to do. Many people on this island that are medical patients just can't deal with the unreliability of the steamship authority. It's a major factor in getting on this island at any point in time. Additionally, as we said before, this population of the island is about to explode. Visitors from all over the state, all over the country, and in some cases all over the world. Running a dispensary on this island has proven to be challenging, and it's hard to imagine any small business owner being successful without some type of remediation from the commission. Other remote areas of the United States have found solutions to this problem, and there's no reason why we can't find one as well. No access is just not acceptable. And we need to come up with some type of solution so that we all will have access. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. I don't see any questions. Next, we have Chloe Lockfield. Sorry, Chloe, welcome. Feinfeld.
And first off, wanted to say thank you very much, commissioners, for being here on island. My name is Chloe Lockfield. I am a born and raised islander. I am currently the general manager of Feinfeld Dispensary up in West Tisbury. I wanted to speak on behalf of all of the people on this island that we serve on a daily basis who are about to lose access. I am comfortable expressing that we are very low on inventory. I do not expect us to make it past the end of this summer by any means, possibly not even through this summer. I am also a medical patient myself. I personally use the product to eat, and I am very afraid of losing the thing that makes it so I can get through my day. I would say the number one difficulty of the way things are currently set up on this island is the cultivation aspect. We make more than enough in our retail to support bringing in products from off island, to support our staff, to support our retail business. We simply do not make enough to support the cultivation, especially well wholesaling. The costs of testing on this island are anywhere from 5 to 10 times what they are off island. Simply the transportation of the argon and the helium that is required for the massive machines that are in our testing facility. It costs way more to get them over here. They're very dangerous chemicals and they can't be transported in the normal manner. There are so many different aspects that make it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, for another company to come in and be successful on this island. And I'm very afraid of what that means for the future of this island. I am someone who has personally used cannabis for many, many years. I am very familiar with the underground market on this island, and over the years, it has gotten less and less safe. And that is something that is really worrying to me. The opioid epidemic is very strong on this island, and there have been samples of cannabis on this island that have had opiates in them. I'm really, really afraid for those people who are 18 plus and want to be able to treat their medical disorders, their medical illnesses, and feel that they need to go to the guy down the street. I can also speak that very few of our medical patients do grow their own cannabis. It's very rare. I've only spoken to one or two that actually have their own plants. and are capable of growing their own plants. They don't understand how to do so, and we don't have the resources to offer them the help in that. At the moment, I just really implore you guys to give us the ability to transport cannabis across the waterways. I don't want people to feel that they have to break the law to be able to bring their medicine to the island. Also, the aspect of there are many, many people who just come here for a day trip, and they are going to bring product. And if they do not know that there is access to it here, they are going to bring product, and that leaves us in a dangerous situation as well of them breaking the law, and they shouldn't be put in that position. I thank you for listening. I just really hope that this is something that can happen.
Thank you, Chloe. Thank you for highlighting that public safety element.
Yes. That is my biggest fear in all of this. I know people personally who have overdosed on opioids, and that is something I am very terrified of.
Yes, and thank you, Chloe, for sharing the story and how it's benefited from regulated cannabis. Can you just share a little bit when you said that some of the cannabis found on the illicit market, yes, when you say it's laced with opioids?
Yeah, there have been, I don't know what the statistics are for it, but I personally have friends who have used test kits on their cannabis and have found trace amounts of opioids in them.
Specifically, you know which ones?
Specifically fentanyl.
Oh, just as a follow-up, what's the type of product?
Flower products mostly, which is very silly to me, as well as oil. That was the other big one that I've had people express to it. They have found placed. Flower product, more specifically pre-rolls, not the like obvious buds, but yeah.
Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you, Chloe. Appreciate your insight. You talked about the testing costs. Part of this discussion is not only supply chain issues coming to the island, but supply chain issues going from the island to the mainland.
Yes.
And perhaps being able to conduct that testing of product through any of the ITLs that are currently registered on the mainland. It sounds like from what you're saying, that would be a significant cost reduction for all of you if you could send product off island to be tested.
Yes, I would say that it would be a significant cost reduction, but it doesn't really take away the largest piece, which, as one of my counterparts said, the rent on Martha's Vineyard is exorbitant. We spend thousands and thousands of dollars, tens of thousands actually, on our cultivation facility each month. We do not make tens of thousands of dollars in revenue each month, or at least not enough that can support both us and our staff, our retail facility, the whole big picture. There are so many different costs on this island that result in the current situation we're in, where we've been losing money year over year, and it's simply not a sustainable business anymore. We do not own the property that our cultivation is on, and so it's many, many tens of thousands of dollars to be in that facility. I would say that is the main cost that is keeping new investors from coming in. I also have the unique experience being the general manager. I've spoken to some of the investors who had expressed interest. All of them had the same concern. It was our cultivation facility. It was how should we buy property? Should we this or that? Because they cannot entertain the idea of taking on the lease of our cultivation facility. It's just not possible. I think that offering the ability to transport test products off island would be a good first step, but it would not be the solution to the problem.
I wish we could wave a wand around the rent issue, but
I know.
maybe a little outside of our lane.
I like someone else mentioned, like speaking to the Wampanoag tribe. I think that would be a very good avenue for increasing the likelihood of someone coming in and purchasing. Is if we found land on this island where we could actually support cultivation, or what would be more ideal would be to remove the cultivation aspect of it and be able to not have to have a vertically integrated medical facility, be able to bring product that is medically tested from off island to the island and sell it safely. It's I think it's simply the only answer and the only way that it's going to work on this island.
But you talked, I think in the opening of your remarks in terms of how much product you still have on hand and how far that you think that'll be able to get you. Is that, it sounded to me like the end of August.
The date that we have been given as an expectation is the middle of September. I am not confident on that date now that we recently received the remaining products to our facility from our cultivation. It does not seem like enough to me to get us through the season, most specifically with flower products, which is what the majority of our medical patients use is flower. They find oils to be too harsh. They find edibles to not quite hit the mark. And so we have prioritized flowers to remain on our medical side, but it's only going to last so long, and I don't see it lasting quite through September.
Thank you.
Let's see if there's questions. Please.
Thank you very much.
The next person we have is Hannah Gonsalves. So, good afternoon. I think.
Thank you guys for being here, and don't mind me, I'm very nervous. It's not a gig. But I wasn't gonna say anything, but I just felt like I wanted my voice to be heard. I'm from the island, I was born and raised here. I've been a long time cannabis user. I struggle with anxiety and major depression. I've taken medication my whole life. Not a lot has helped. Cannabis has helped a lot in my life. And another one thing is that I can get it from somewhere that's safe. I was using it before it was legal in Massachusetts, so I would have to get it, off the streets and things like that. And like Chloe was saying, I've actually had friends that have overdosed from fentanyl being in products, and it's sad and it's scary. And I think that's one of my major things is that I like the fact that I can get it and I know that it's tested. I know that it's safe. If that was taken away from me, I don't know what I would do because I'm not sure if I would want to purchase products from some random person that I don't know. Like she was saying, it's specifically in joints, and it's just scary. And then I also like that we have the dispensaries here to educate other people on the topic, because it's just kind of been not goodly talked about until recent years, I would say. I think a lot of people just would put down on it and say that it's bad, but it can actually have so many benefits for other people. Like for me specifically with my anxiety and depression, but also with my dad. He doesn't ingest it or smoke it, but he has really bad knees. They get swollen and inflamed. And I got him a lotion. And he says that he loves it. It's one of the best lotions he's ever had. It helps. And so that just alone there made me happy because he wasn't always for it. But then now that the dispensaries are open and I was able to go out there and I was like, hey, let me get this for my dad just to try. Because he's not going to feel it. He's going to, put it on his body. And he loved it. And it totally opened his mind up to new medicines that he could use. So that was what I was saying. Of course.
Oh, so just one question.
Thank you, Hannah, for sharing your story with us. You had mentioned about friends that have unfortunately some products on the street that were laced and they have overdose. Anecdotally speaking, you had said once before it was legal in Massachusetts, that's where you had to get it, right?
Yeah.
Because there was no other options. Yeah. Would you say in your estimation that your friends or acquaintances or people that you know, like you, have they transitioned from that illicit market into the regulated market? Are you finding that, or?
Yeah, I definitely am. And I've actually had, since it's been open, I've had more friends that have started working for dispensaries, which I think is a great job opportunity too. But yeah, it's just a way to get it legally and safe. And I think that most people, if they can get it that way, they will. And it wasn't really until recently with the epidemic, the opioids and fentanyl specifically, that it's been a concern. Fentanyl is my main concern today. could be laced into any of the products, just because it's so scary. And even just famous people that we know that have passed away, most of them are from fentanyl, and it's sad. And it's just scary to think that people are even putting that in a product like marijuana, but it doesn't need to be there, you know?
Okay, next we have Terry Reed. Sorry, did I pronounce your last name correctly? Reed. Okay. Good afternoon. Reed.
My name is Dr. Carrie Friedman. I believe I'm the only registered physician, cannabis certifier medical cards on the island. Been doing it for years, not something I was ever taught in medical school. So I've taken numerous courses. I belong to the Association of Cannabinoid Specialists, which is, I think, in the forefront, both medically and politically in this country in terms of providing medical care to cannabis users. I feel strongly that there needs to be a medical facility on this island. I have a lot of elderly patients, a lot of sick patients, a lot of people who are using cannabis for the first time and really don't have any way to get off of the island. I don't think that the Mediban stops cannabis facilities. I think everybody who has spoken before me has been extremely articulate. I don't have a whole lot extra to say. I think it's a matter of health equity. I think that living on the island presents problems, and we all accept that, but getting your medication shouldn't be one of them. If there is no facility or dispensary on the island, people have to go to the legal providers. That's obviously a huge medical issue. And more important than that, even if you grow your own, which I discourage my patients from doing, because they don't know the percent THC in it. They don't know what is sopping up from the soil, even if they tell me they're growing, quote, organically. Wouldn't go to the drugstore and say, I have hypertension, give me something to help my blood pressure, you know, any medication, any dosage. If you get something from a medical facility, a dispensary, you know either the milligrams of THC that's in it, or you know the percent of THC in flower. And I can make the calculations saying, you know, 1 puff, 2 puffs will give you this amount. 1 gummy will give you this amount. And I think that when I'm treating different ailments or complaints of patients, it's very helpful for me to see, start them at a certain dose, talk to them. And just as an aside, I'd love to see the medical registration and the state registration be on the same day, because I get numerous calls from very confused patients. I don't necessarily certify somebody for a year when they're, you know, 85 years old and they don't even know what they're doing. I may certify them for a few months. I don't charge them anything more when they come back in 3 months, but I want to be able to see what they're doing. I want to check on the state website and see what they've bought so I can tell what they're using. And without that, it's kind of a free-for-all. I want to know what they're taking, how much they're taking, and if they're having adverse effects from it, not because it's from the facility, but because their body just may be reacting to it. So I find it very critical that we have dispensaries on the island that people can go to and tell me what's going on. I'd like to see a more variety of product available. People constantly go and they say, that was great what I got 2 months ago, but now it's not available anymore. Through no fault of the people who grow it here, but it's just not always available, the same product at the same time. And any more than you change blood pressure medicine every other month, you don't want to keep changing your cannabis medication as well. So it's a pleasure to see you guys in person. Getting you on the phone is not the easiest. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. Commissioner Webb.
Thank you, Dr. Friedman. And did I hear you correctly? You're the only certified medical provider on the island?
To my knowledge,
Wow, well,
Yes,
thank
I,
you for that.
and I've been doing it for at least 5 years, and
Yeah.
you don't want to know my backstory because it's bad.
Down the tree.
And, you know, you talk about health equity, and I've said this many times that there aren't enough providers. We have about 400 in the state, we have 96,000 patients. When you do the math, that's really not a good ratio. So I want to thank you for the service that you provide to your patients here on the island. You had mentioned, and I think Chloe might have mentioned that the inventory is getting low. Specifically flour, I think was gonna run out short. So what do your patients primarily, is that what they use primarily, flour? Can you talk to us about?
Honestly, my patients, I recommend gummies because I can tell exactly how many milligrams of THC they get. And I'm telling them to get a, 5 milligram one, don't be cutting it into eighths because, it's hard to keep track of. But I usually use gummies because with the patient using flour, it's much harder to see how much they're getting, even if I do the calculations on their, lung capacity and the percent of THC. And it's extremely hard to get the percent of THC equal across this batch and that batch. So I'm usually telling them, 18 to 20% THC, and then I do the calculations to see how much they're getting. It's a medical thing for me. I mean, recreational is a whole different ballgame, and I don't try to interfere with that.
Any other? If you wanted to come back up, John.
Okay.
Okay, so hold on. Are there any other questions? I don't see any other questions. John, do you have a question for the doctor?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. Just this week, we ran out of gummies for our patients, and that was heartbreaking. And that's the result of the supply chain interruptions, and that's going to become a permanent situation really, really soon. So we had patients drive into the dispensary and ask for your normal gummy edibles, and we had nothing. We had nothing for it. We had no edibles at all in the dispensary. So, and that's what it's going to look like really soon.
Yeah, there are a lot of patients that are terrified of smoking. Even if you tell them you can use flour, get a vaporizer, set the temperature low, it's not the same as, inhaling.
Right.
Which is basically why I also recommend gummies because, you're an elderly patient or you've got lung cancer or something. There are myriad reasons why you can't use flour.
Sure.
Some people do, and I'm not against it, but gummies are a very specific dose. And in the future, I would like to see medical cannabis made into the same dosage things as going to the drugstore and getting your dose of blood pressure medicine or cholesterol medicine, so that it's not so out there. Try this or try that.
Make sure you're fine on the federal portal. They are taking comments on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, but the last person that we have is Brooke Hanson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Martha's Vineyard. I am the landlord to the Island Time dispensary in Vineyard Haven. And I purchased that building specifically to lease it to Mr. Rose and his business, knowing very little about the cannabis industry or how it's regulated, but really just based on his character and his characteristics, and having witnessed the tenacity and determination with which he had navigated a very complicated regulatory process to be able to open his business. This island's economy depends on entrepreneurs who have ideas and take risks and make investments and open businesses, renovate old vacant buildings, hire people, provide products and services to the local community, pay taxes. And that's what he's done, and it's really challenging, and it's not easy. Mr. Rose is an upstanding and outstanding member of our local business community. He's very active in the Chamber of Commerce and a prolific presence at community events and gatherings. He represents his business and his industry with professionalism and pride and grace. And now his business is facing some challenges that feel a little bit out of his control. If he's unable to continue operating his business, it would be a big loss to me and to him, and of course to all of the employees that he's hired and to all of his patients. But it would also represent a loss of a pillar of our local business community. We certainly don't want to see that happen. Thank you.
Hold on one moment, Brent. Yeah, there's a question here, Mr. Wood.
It's actually,
I'm sorry, new question.
yeah. Fine Fettle, we actually have it for Fine Fettle and patient centric, but you made me think of the question, so thank you for that. You opened, actually share with about the economics of cannabis and what it means, and so I hear jobs, and there's people here right in front of me, jobs that are in the cannabis industry. So, Mr. Rose, how many folks do you employ in Fine Fettle? How many folks work at your location?
During the season, we will employ upwards of 10 people.
So in our retail, in the summer, we employ upwards of about 10 as well. In our cultivation, anywhere from 10 to 15.
Additional?
Yeah, additional employees. At this point in time, though, we are down to just about 2 or 3 in our cultivation.
I can just add, I mean, that dispensary was a vacant, unproductive, idiosyncratic building. Very hard to find someone to use that building. He invested a lot of time and money bringing it back to life. Full renovation. It's a beautiful space. It's now bringing people to a neighborhood that's in transition that needs more people to be making investments, opening businesses, hiring people, generating business activity in that neighborhood. He's a good tenant. He's a good neighbor. His customers are productive members of the local economy and of the neighborhood. It's just been great to see a new business open there. Thanks.
Are there any other people who want to provide any comments that didn't sign up for the sign up? Come on up, it's an opportunity to hear from anyone who can find additional comments. And then when you come up, you just state your name, please.
So we were from the Fine Fettle folks. I figured I'd speak up a little. I worked for Jeff at another time. My name is Matthew is my name. I've been living here on the island since I was born and raised. I spent 26 of my 31 years on the island, so I kind of know a little bit about the people that work and live here. So to kind of speak to the point of the fentanyl and the opioid crisis, you know, a lot of the kids I grew up with, I saw fall into that those sort of drugs, those sort of avenues of addiction, and I saw cannabis bring them out of that. You know, those that sort of predilection to that group of opioids. So it's really sad to see people saying they had fentanyl in their cannabis products. So to have an avenue for medical marijuana to be available, to be safely tested, to be safely available on the island would be very important for the youth coming up. I mean, it's not a good thing for kids to start smoking very early. I know I started pretty early, probably 15, 16. But if they are having access to safe cannabis, at least that is a way for them to not be addicted to other substances. I have, even my fiance was a very big alcoholic when I met her, and she brought herself out of it through the use of cannabis, through the use of microdosing with edibles, through the use of smoking instead of drinking, and she has vastly improved her life since those days, since I met her. So I can very personally attest to the fact that this product definitely helps a lot of people. And I also wanted to speak to the point of the variety of products available. I know we were talking about how a lot of medical patients seem to want to do the edibles or the flower, but there are also a lot more products that are coming out. There are drinks that you can get with THC. There are different edibles that you can get, different versions of foods that you can even get with THC. I've seen THC potato chip that is just packaged, so it's very much important for people to have a wide variety of ways to get this cannabis products. They can find ways that are best work for them, and to be able to provide those products easily with a safe avenue to get it on the island is very important for a lot of people. I can attest to. My father is a medical patient, and he actually does grow his own weed, does grow his own plants, but he has that opportunity because he has a very nice, backyard, a lot of space to work with, and it is actually a very can be a very complicated process. A lot of people don't know how to properly grow marijuana to get that potency that they need for their medical ailments. So he definitely goes to those dispensaries. Unfortunately, he has to go off island now to get those products, but it would be very important to him, sure, as well as other members of my family, to get that product available. So, about what I wanted to say. I didn't have anything written down, unfortunately, just off the cuff, listening to everybody here. I figured I'd throw my 2 cents. So thank you.
We appreciate it.
Could you just repeat your name?
Matthew Bagnall.
Thank you, Ben.
Yes.
Don't see additional questions. Let me just look at my camera first. Commissioner Margot has it. She's all good. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else? Please. And just remember to state your name at the beginning and that's 3 minutes.
My name is Bill Huntington. I want to follow up on some of the things that Brooke mentioned about Jeff specifically. Being a small business owner myself for a very long time, not operating on the island for very long, I found it extremely difficult, or find it difficult, to operate on this island from a logistics point of view. Getting products on the mainland to Grand was not an easy thing. Also, with employees, it's very difficult to attract and obtain employees. So Jeff is an outstanding business person, involved in so many different things on this island. I just find it, in my business, if I could not get products from the mainland, I would be out of business quickly. And that's how I feel about Jeff's situation. It's a shame that something can't be done immediately to give him release, particularly quickly. I hope that you can do something to help these small business owners. But I just wanted to be here today to support Jeff, to support other small business owners, and say that the availability of products, that's legally transported is not an easy thing to occur. Food and beverage, the business that I'm in, it's difficult, it's expensive, and it's a whole other level from operating on the main. So in support of other small businesses, I'm here today to hope that we can do something to help these people survive. Thank you.
Thank you. Because I don't see any. It's. And again, just state your name to the rest of the people after.
My name is Andrea Spino, and I am an employee of Island Time. I don't have anything prepared, but my coworker came up here, and so I wanted to give my opinion as well. I've worked at the dispensary for about a little over a year now, and we have quite a variety of customers that come in that specifically are searching marijuana to help heal some part of them, whether it is alcoholism, whether they are on other drugs that they're getting from the streets, that they're getting unsafely. We do have this problem on the island. I think it's something that is overshadowed because of how normalized it is. I spoke at the OB town meeting a couple months ago when we were talking about bringing a cannabis store to OB. And one of the things that I mentioned was how we have over like 4 liquor stores in Oak Bluffs, and it's just something that's normalized in our community. I think that providing safe weed and safe marijuana and safe medicine is a way to help keep just that option available for people. If you look at things like guns, people get it regardless, whether they have access to it or not. I think that taking away a dispensary completely is kind of bringing an open market field day to the island. It's going to put children in a really bad place. I grew up in high school where weed wasn't illegal, but I can tell you that everybody was smoking it. Everybody had a friend who sold, or there was adults coming into the school to sell to us. Adults that had no business being around children. And that's the environment that's created when you don't provide a safe place to buy weed. I would feel bad telling my niece if she ever was interested, oh, there's no place to get it, figure it out yourself. And that's just how you open up unsafe products. So I think it's important that we have at least one place on the island that can regulate safe weed, especially since we have so many medical patients. I feel like it would be doing them an injustice, taking away their pharmacy too much.
Oh, yeah, a question, Commissioner Stebbins.
So you spoke at the Oak Bluffs town meeting. What was the reaction? What was any decision passed down by the town meeting?
I believe it was 58 to 99. They shut us down for a pot shop. A lot of folks, I feel, are still undereducated about just what marijuana brings to a community. I believe that specifically here, we still have a lot of people that were raised under the reefer scare. And again, shutting down a dispensary would kind of just prove them right. And it would also limit education to just, you don't have to smoke it, but this is why your neighbor might. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm Debbie Dean, practicing public speaking. I think it is important that we speak up for what we believe in. And I just happened to stumble into this gathering. But I remember in 1976, Dr. Michael Jacobs asked me to procure some pot for his patient who had advanced cancer. He relied on me as an illegal person growing pot in my backyard. And it greatly helped Claire Segunik with her nausea. And I did this weekly for this woman, whoever's her housekeeper. But Dr. Jacobs was in a conundrum. He knew marijuana could be helpful. So I thought about that through the decades, what people have done to help ease their ailments. Think about that. We have a steamship authority with a lot of authority. We have a lot of authority in our town boards, but we also have an obligation to each other to help heal. And if this product can help, come on now, let's think about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff, do you want to come back up? And we're at 12:42, so this might be the last. I know I'm on.
Thank you. I just want to elaborate on the Oak Bluff situation, I guess. I filed a citizen's petition to basically expand the geography of where a dispensary could be located. The town of Oak Bluff has a bylaw that allows for cannabis. However, in my opinion, it was extremely geographically curtailed. And so my citizen's petition was to expand that geography. That, in effect, was what was not voted in favor of. So I intend to continue that effort to find a logical geography in a place.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who's come forward, who's provided their comments. If you can, please also submit those comments to commission@cccmass.com. It's been incredibly insightful. Clearly, we have some work to do. And just so everyone is aware, this is also an item on our agenda coming up next Thursday. So we will have a follow-up conversation with the commission. If possible, I believe we will have some next steps that we will be talking about then. At this point, I'll just go through our agenda. There is no new business that was anticipated at the time of posting. Our next meeting date will be on Thursday, the 13th. And we're here, so if you all want to talk any more one-on-one, I know myself, I'll be in the hallway, we'll be around, so we can have those conversations as well. And I just want to thank you all for coming and seeing us here, and it's been a real pleasure to come to the island and have this conversation face to face. Commissioner Boyd, and I guess I'll go around the commission if there are any comments that the commissioners want to make.
I just want to thank all of you for attending, for vocalizing your personal stories with us. We hear you, and there are serious public health and public safety implications to this issue, the supply chain issue. And we take it very seriously. So I want to thank you again, and I look forward to our continued conversation next week. And like you, we want to see a solution to this issue. So thank you all.
Commissioner Stebbins.
Sure, thank you, Chair, and thanks to all of you. For me, I'm sure for my colleagues, it's always so helpful when we can come someplace, talk to folks face to face, hear your own individual stories, and as Commissioner Roy pointed out, this is access issue, this is a public health issue, and as we've heard tragically some stories that make this a public safety issue as well. So thank you for having us. Thanks for showing up, taking time out of your day to share your concerns with us. It helps us do our job.
I'll maneuver for Commissioner Cargo. So
Ready?
Yes.
Can everyone hear Commissioner Marco? Paul, can you mute yours? I'll be brief. I just want to say thank you for everyone who showed up. But also even we talk about access. There's 105 folks currently watching this. I know it includes some of us, but when we talk about access, I'm glad that we're doing this, hybrid, because I'm sure folks couldn't make it today. And just, thank you again. I think Commissioner Roy, you said it best, right? Public health, public safety, and access. So this is very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Camargo.
So thank you, Commissioner Roy. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Camargo?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Roy?
Aye.
Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. There are 4 in favor, none opposed. We are now adjourned. Next meeting will be next week. Thank you so much.